Hey, it's Steve with Prima Coffee here. Today we're going to take a look at Anfim's SCODY II espresso grinder. Now this is a pretty fantastic commercial grinder. It's Anfim's sort of resurgence to the specialty coffee industry, where they've come out with a few new products. They've rethought some of their classic designs and brought them more into the modern age to make them more applicable to the way that we like to pull espresso today. So we've got a great kind of square, fairly compact footprint here. Really, it's not a flashy grinder, but it is nice and compact. It'll fit on most espresso bars. We have a set of 75mm flat steel burrs inside. Those can be upgraded to titanium coated, which will give you longer life out of them. They'll stay sharper for longer. So that will give you a little bit more consistent coffee over the lifetime of that grinder. However, they come with the flat steel burrs standard. We have a 5-pound hopper up top. That can also be swapped out for 1-pound hopper if you don't feel like you need that amount of coffee. So if you're doing, I don't know, single doses or something like that, you are able to get a smaller hopper and store a smaller amount of coffee. We have a worm gear adjustment that uses this sort of micro knob here to make small changes. That's really nice. This is a dedicated espresso grinder, or at least it's intended to be, so you're not going to make very big changes on the grind wheel. So you are allowed, the knob allows you to make very fine changes to adjust for your coffee, changing throughout the course of the day. It's very easy to make small tweaks. Now, this is also an on-demand grinder. That's kind of part of the SCODY name. So we have a spout here. It's a doserless grinder, and we have a set of adjustable forks, plus this momentary switch here that your portafilter hits as you insert it into the fork. The new spout has a new declumping mechanism, which you'll see in a minute when I grind some coffee, that will make for a nice fluffy mound of grounds right in the middle of your basket. And that's great because, even if you're grinding kind of fine, you don't have to deal with those weird clumps that can throw off your extraction. So you'll get a little bit better even extraction thanks to that declumper. We have 2 timed dosing settings here on the side panel. Each of those is adjustable within 1/10 of a second. And it's very, very easy to change. All you have to do is hold down your desired dose button. You'll wait for the screen to blink. And then the first option that you'll have is the whole seconds. You can go up and down on the controls. You can hit that dose button again to switch to the 1/10 of a second, and again go up and down on the controls. And then one more time on the dose to lock that in. So very quick and easy to switch. Great for when you're dialing in the morning. You can change your time dosing to adjust to whatever your dose needs to be, especially if you're making rapid grind changes. Now, we found that dosing is pretty accurate within 1 gram, and that's fairly reliable throughout the course of the day. The SCODY does have a nice large cooling fan on the back, so it stays relatively cool even in a higher volume environment. You will see some changes if you're pulling a lot of shots back to back to back, but for most medium to somewhat high volume cafes, it's going to be pretty darn consistent throughout the day. We also have a pulsed grinding button down here at the base. So if you just need to kind of, grind a quick 1/10 of a gram or so to top things up, you can do that. Or if you are just winging it and you want to just try a new recipe, you can do that without having to play with the time dosing settings. Now, retention in this grinder is right around 5, maybe up to 8 grams usually. That's partly because of the declumper. You will have a little bit more coffee building up in the throat in between the burrs and the spout. That's just a function of running a declumper. There has to be some coffee there in order to kind of force out. So if you're coming to the grinder after a long period of rest, or you had a rush earlier and it's been pretty slow, you might want to give a good, we think about 5 grams is okay. In terms of purging to clear out that old coffee and replace it with some fresh coffee. Overall, a really fantastic grinder. Let me show you what it's like to grind with this. It's really, really easy. And again, it's an on-demand grinder, so it grinds as long as the portafilter is in place. It's interruptible, so if I grind a little bit and pull my portafilter out and then go back within a few seconds, it will finish counting down that same time. So if you need to stop and groom, or you're interrupted for some reason, you can come right back to grinding your coffee. So again, we got a pretty nice even amount of coffee. It's a little bit forward in this basket, but I can just give it a few taps and a little bit of a finger groom to settle, and we'll have a nice even puck after tamping. So that is the Anfim SCODY II. Thanks very much for watching.